Hello, everyone. Hello, London. It's been a while. June, was it, last time I was here? Anyway, welcome to all of you in the room. More than 200 of you have decided to join us in person here in Shoreditch. That's great. Thank you for coming. And hello to all of you following this event online. So yes, what's going to happen in the next half an hour? I'm going to be talking a little bit about what happened at Adobe MAX, and we'll also show you some of the innovations that we're bringing on the table to unleash your creativity. So Adobe MAX was an event we held 3 weeks ago in San Diego, and we had over 10,000 people joining us there. It was our biggest MAX event ever. And if you want to join us at an Adobe MAX, we're going to have another one next year, and it's going to be in Las Vegas. So if you guys want to join us in person, it's going to be in Las Vegas. So let's move on. I want to start with talking a little bit about the state of creativity, because this is something that at Adobe we keep a keen eye on, because this is what drives our efforts to produce the applications that you guys need in your creative workflows. So basically, we see that the life of creatives has changed quite a lot in the past few years. There's a lot more happening in the realms of 3D and VR. How many of you are getting these goggles for Christmas? One here. Okay, that's Lucy. Anyway, there's more and more happening in this field, the field of VR, and we'll see that there's some innovation there as well in our video products. But there's a whole new world to be explored there, with illustration, with photography, with video, all of that in virtual reality or 360 reality. And then another thing that's most important is that these experiences need to be built for various platforms. We all have different devices we actually access the content on, and we need to make sure at Adobe that all of these platforms are addressed and that we can enable you to actually design for those. And there's also this concept of content velocity. Things need to be produced faster and faster. So performance is a keyword for our developers and for our whole vision at Adobe. So what I want to do is just give you a little bit of insight in the state of creativity. And there's this thing that we do. It's called the State of Create. And I have some numbers from 2016 here. And they're quite interesting, because when you put these numbers from surveys together also with information that we can gather from our social network, Behance, where artists actually show their work and actually get also hired by companies, we get some very, very interesting results. So I'm showing you the numbers for UK, but we also did that in the US, in Germany, in France, and Japan, and we conglomerated these numbers. But we see that there's a huge percentage of people who actually see the value of creativity to the economy. Things need to look nice and look good for actually people to react on them. And many people also see the value of creativity to society. And this is something that is quite new, and that's maybe in the past 5 years that I've seen this increment in this value that people see in the value of creativity, that people actually understand what design is and what it is for. But there is a big gap also. Only 33% of the respondents said that they're living to their full creative potential. All right? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done on our side also to enable this creativity to get that percentage up, because we want people to be creative, to be as creative as possible always. As far as creativity driving business is concerned, these numbers are also quite interesting, because 67% of people will choose a product or a service over its competitors due to its design. When's the last time anyone in this room bought a good app that has a bad design? Nobody, okay? And how many of you bought an app that had an incredible design but then found out it wasn't that good? All right, all of you. So design is really a key factor there. Also, brand loyalty is, design has an impact on brand loyalty. We will buy things or purchase services that have a good brand that we can trust, that we can actually visualize well. And the last thing is that businesses who actually invest in creativity have a much better chance at having increased productivity. All right. Let's move to Behance. And there's something very interesting happening on Behance. And we launched Behance together with Creative Cloud a few years ago. We actually purchased Behance to create this social network that we needed inside of our vision of the Creative Cloud. And one very interesting thing is that we see a growth in job postings on Behance, almost 30% year over year. Okay, so there's more and more potential customers, clients, that are actually looking for designers on Behance. But we also see that the major keywords in these searches, in the search for talent, are user, directors, interface, all of these things that I've been talking about before, all these new technologies that come up. And companies are actually looking for designers to help them create for these new media. So there's a really, really high demand for creatives. And being a creative myself, I'm a designer. I'm so happy to actually see that this increase in people's perception of creativity and of design and where it can lead us. So, very quickly, this is a slide most of you know. The Creative Cloud is not only the access to Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere, After Effects, or whatever, all the applications. For us, it's more and more really this ecosystem that we're building around mobile applications to be able to work on the go, to the communities, for example, Behance, which, as I mentioned, is a growing community and a very vibrant community that also generates generates work for creatives. And then the marketplaces. And there, I want to mention particularly Typekit and also Adobe Stock. Some of you can also try outside in the test areas how to look for stock images, and these marketplaces enable designers to access content that they need for their work much quicker. We've integrated all of that inside of the applications and made it much easier to discover. And at the heart of everything is what we call the Creative Sync that syncs all of these things together and that makes the Creative Cloud a seamless experience through producing on the desktop applications, on your mobile applications, joining a huge community, and also accessing a marketplace where you can purchase, but also sell your photography, your vector art, your designs. So very interesting ecosystem that's building and is growing bigger every year. So what have we announced at MAX? We've announced quite a few things actually, but maybe the first three applications here are a very good example of what we mean by developing for cloud first. All of these applications, Experience Designer, Project Felix, Spark, are all applications that have been developed with the cloud in mind, with the ability to share, with the ability to sync, etc. Then, of course, we've also have a whole bunch of applications to our Creative Cloud desktop apps, okay, and the mobile apps as well, and the marketplace. And oops, I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to go to a little bit of detail in each one of those. So let's start with the area of design innovation. As you know, Adobe XD, how many of you use Experience Designer already? Okay, quite a few of you. Okay, that's good. Is an application that we've created from the ground up and that we've launched in beta earlier this year. Basically, it allows our users to create experiences that can be on screen, that can be on watches, on any type of experience you can actually design with Adobe XD. And at Adobe MAX, we've included a few key features that include, for example, the possibility to work with layers more or in a better way. We've also included things like symbols, in order to edit multiple objects on the page at the same time. And one interesting thing about Adobe XD is that we still call it a beta, but it's work in progress, but we are providing new versions very, very regularly. And we also have a system where we actually ask the community to give us feedback. So there have been over 500 feature requests that generated 23,000 votes, because you can actually vote features up or down on the list, so that our development teams can actually understand what the community really wants. And these, out of these 500 features, 100 already got implemented. So it's a really great way to develop software and to provide people with new ways of creating these digital experiences. And we've also presented a thing that will come later in the first half of 2017, the ability to actually work on experience design projects in a group of people. So collaboratively working on the various pages, on creating the designs, etc. So there will be very interesting things happening there as well. So there will be also versioning, and also, yes, the fact that you can co-edit an Adobe Experience Design document online. Project Felix is another one that's very interesting, because this is something that we created to enable 2D designers to enter the world of 3D with greater ease, because it's not very easy to use a fully fledged 3D application to create imagery. So we've created Project Felix to actually make it easier to enter that world. And I will be showing you a little bit of how that works. And this will be launched as a beta later this year, so very, very soon. And Spark, of course, is our series of applications that allow people to design that are not necessarily designers, but that will enable everyone to create beautiful designs for posting online, to create micro websites, and also videos to explain concepts, talk about their ideas or their story. And one of the things is that Creative Cloud members will actually have the ability to remove the Adobe branding from the projects. So this is also very interesting how this whole ecosystem there, the ecosystem of Spark, actually is evolving. About the Creative Cloud updates, I'm going to move right into it. As far as the video products are concerned, we did a lot of work on 3D, on virtual reality, like I mentioned before, because this is something that increasingly enters the workflows of video professionals. 360 video, and how do you edit it best? How do you preview that in Adobe Premiere? You can now do that and easily see exactly what's happening in your video. And Character Animator is also an interesting part of this video workflow, where you can actually animate inanimate objects to follow your speech, to open the mouth when you talk, for example. And we've had an episode of The Simpsons actually being done live using Character Animator earlier this year. And of course, we're also always working on efficient workflows to make things easier for our users. One of those is team projects, the ability to work on a video project as a team. As far as the desktop applications are concerned, there's new versions of all of the applications. There we always focus on efficiency, on speed, on this content velocity concept that I was talking to you about before, precision and control, and also a brand new version of Dreamweaver is shipping. So that is also something that many people have been waiting for quite some time. As far as the mobile apps are concerned, the creation apps, the main thing here, I think, is that all of these apps are also now available for Android. So this is something that our users have been waiting for a little while, but we wanted to be sure to have it right in at least on one platform until we develop it for the other. And the other interesting thing here maybe also is the ability to use your Photoshop brushes in Photoshop Sketch. So you can actually sync your Photoshop brushes with Creative Cloud into Photoshop Sketch and use those on your mobile device. The marketplaces. Adobe Stock has actually more than 60 million assets that can be purchased directly from within the applications or from within the new open windows that all of you have seen once you updated it to the 2017 version of Creative Cloud. But we're also adding a whole bunch of new assets to Adobe Stock. For example, we have 3D objects now, which is very important for our Project Felix, for example, or lightning materials and also fonts that can be accessed there. But one thing to remember is that Adobe Stock is not only photography. It's also vectors, videos, premium collections, premium images, and templates. This is also very new. We've introduced a whole bunch of templates for Photoshop, Illustrator that can be accessed directly from within the application to get started quicker on a project. We also have a new visual search, searching for images using the simply maybe using an image that you already have and look for similar images in Adobe Stock. And the Adobe Stock Contributor Portal, which is very interesting for creatives because it allows everybody to submit their work to Adobe Stock. It will then be vetted for quality and content, of course, and then it will enable you to sell your content directly there on that marketplace. So there's opportunities to not only buy, but also to sell your artwork. The Typekit. Typekit is what in the Creative Cloud lets you access thousands of fonts directly from within the Creative Cloud applications, to download them to your desktop, to use them in web projects, to access fonts that previously were maybe harder to get, or maybe there was this gray area around fonts with licensing and things like that. Typekit made all of this much, much easier. But we've made it even better now because we've added more than 6,000 fonts on what we call the Typekit Marketplace. And that means that you can, on Typekit, now also purchase licenses to fonts from other foundries. I have a whole a small list there. There's many more. So you have access to even more fonts. And of course, Creative Cloud members have access to the full Typekit library, as always. So let's have a quick look at some of these new features that I was talking about. First, I'm going to show you some in Adobe Experience Designer, and then we're going to move over to Felix, and then maybe a little bit of Spark at the end. All right, so let me escape out of this and quit that and move over here to Adobe XD. Basically, what we have here is an application that lets you not only design, but also prototype your applications or your screens, let's call them like that. And what I have here is a whole bunch of screens that I've designed for phones, for the web, for the tablet in different sizes. And because I'm designing for different sizes, therefore repeating many different elements, one thing that is super interesting is the fact that I can now work with symbols. So I'm going to zoom into one of those pages, for example. And you see, I have a new symbol panel here where I can take my symbols. I can just simply drag them in here, recommend, okay, like the button down here. And the benefit of using symbols, a little bit like in Illustrator, is that if I modify that symbol and change the fill color, for example, to this color, you see that not only do these colors change in the layout on all of the instances of that symbol, but also here in the symbol library, so that I can very, very quickly modify recurring elements on my page. Another interesting thing is the fact that I can now work with layers. And we wanted to really make sure that layers made sense in Adobe XD. Because since we have multiple artboards, multiple pages, layers, we had to sort of rethink layers. So basically, if I open the Layers panel here, with no page selected, you see that I have all of my layers open here. But as soon as I start working on a specific page here, I get only the layers that are present on that page, making it super easy for me to design, to work with the different layers, and not get confused by something that may be on another page, okay? Something that maybe happens if I did the same exact job in Illustrator or Photoshop. This is why we created this application, to actually make it easier than Photoshop or Illustrator. And the other cool thing is that I can now, let me just put on my phone here, and I'm going to connect that very quickly, put in all my passwords, and open this. And let me just open QuickTime a second. Done, and file, new movie recording. Okay, and basically, no LinkedIn now. No. Not now. Let's go to Adobe here. Let me open Adobe XD. Okay. It asks me to actually open a document. Let me just close this document, not save it, and just reopen it very quickly. It now appears on my phone, okay? And I can actually use the document that I've created there, like I create a prototype with links between the pages. I can simply touch my screen and go back to the home page, for example. And then I say, okay, let's go see, I want some seafood here. Seafood, okay? I'm just pretending, I'm not actually doing that, okay? And then I say, okay, seafood. Oh, garlic butter prawns. All right, awesome. Click on that and go over there so I can actually experience the experience of, that I've just created on my device. And no, I don't want to do camera uploads just now. But you're getting the idea, okay? So this ability to preview on the device makes it very, very easy for me to develop my prototypes. Let's move over to Project Felix. Let me actually, yes, we have a blank canvas here. And basically, Project Felix is an application that we thought for designers that need to put 3D content into a 2D environment. Okay, this happens more and more. You could do that with Photoshop, but it's not very easy. You have to have quite a bit of knowledge to do that, to turn the right lights on, to really place the object on the page, etc. Or you could spend a few weeks learning a 3D program, the basics of the 3D program, and do that there. But we don't have time for that. We need to take that 3D content, put it into a 2D environment. So to show you how easy that is, I'm now in the design mode of Project Felix. And let me see, what do we have here? OK, let me take a bottle, for example, and we're going to work on that bottle. And what I can do now is actually start working on this image. And what I want to do here is create a graphic for a cherry juice. And so the first thing I want to do is to maybe select the bottle. And you see that the bottle has several 3D elements. So for example, I have the bottle, the juice. Okay, so let's select that for a second. And let's say, oh, I want to make that red because cherries are red. Okay, like this. And you can see in this little preview, it already happened. Then maybe I want to put a label on it. And that's also interesting. Down here, you see that I have access to models, to lights, to materials. And these are three things that we're adding to Adobe Stock as well, so that you can access these elements very, very quickly, get them into your Creative Cloud libraries, and use them in Project Felix. So here, for example, I've designed a label that I want to put on the label here. So let's select that for a second. And simply drag the label over. This is a PNG that I created in Photoshop. It's going to take a little while to render. It already rendered here in the preview. And then I can go in here and say I want to actually move that label around. Oh, here we go. OK, so let's say I want the label to be like this. Perfect. Maybe now I want to work on still on the bottle. Let's take the bottle here. And we have the magic wand tool to select things in 3D. So I can go here and say, OK, let me take that, the tap of the bottle here. And let's make that plastic. let's take a plastic down here from the materials and simply double click on it. And this material has now been applied to that 3D object. And again, I want this to be red. So very quickly, I can go in here and say, I want this to be red. And here we go. This has already been updated. All right? But let's add some other 3D elements here. So let's go back to my models. One thing I wanted to add was some cherries that jump around. Let me see if I can find them here. I could use the search field if I was... There we go. Cherries. Let's just drag them in here. And now we have some cherries around this bottle. All right? And in the little preview down here, you already see how this could work out. Okay? So basically, in the preview, it's actually creating a very quick render of what I've just created with the label, with the colors, with the cherries themselves. Now, of course, what's missing is the background image. So let's go in here and say, I want to select a file for the background. Let me actually close this for a second. And select a file for the background. And let's take this background here. And boom, now I have the bottle in a 2D environment. And I can also go here and say, show me the horizon controls. And I can then move those horizon controls so that it actually works with the horizon. And very interestingly, I can also create light from the image, because right now the light is white light coming on the photo. But I can actually create the light from the image. It'll take the image and create, adjusting the lighting. I always get that word wrong. Adjusting the lighting. All right, and you can already see that we have a different type of light on the bottle itself. So let's go back in here. Let's go back to, let's hide the horizon controls. Okay, and in my preview here, I can see now how this all evolves inside of my image with the shadows and everything. Then, once I'm done, I go to render here. Oh, one thing that I wanted to show before I do that is actually the libraries. That's where I have all of these access to all of the things. I actually have a library, a Creative Cloud library that I call Felix, where I can put my object that I created in Photoshop, that all of these things that go with that image I can put in that library and use on the document. Again, Creative Cloud libraries, Creative Sync, everything comes together. Let's go to render, and at that point, I can simply say, OK, render that image. And depending on the quality I choose, of course, it'll create various types of images. I can create PNGs. I can also create layered Photoshop files. So we're making it much, much easier for 2D designers to enter the 3D world and create compelling images like that. Do you like that? Yeah? OK. I can't wait for you to play with that, because this is going to be in public beta before the end of the year as well. OK? So so keep your eyes out and ears open. Now, how do you say? Yeah, OK. Yes, that's what travel does to you. All right. So, yes. Let me just move back a second. We can leave that open, actually, and let's move back to the QuickTime player here, because one last thing I want to do is to go here in Adobe Spark Post, and you see we have Spark Video and Spark Page. But what I want to create right now is a Spark Post. So let's see. There's a whole bunch of categories here. There's some featured designs that I can choose from. Let's choose one that doesn't have too much words, like this one. OK? But we're going to change it. No worries. Let's say remix. So I'm actually downloading that, that image. And now I'm just going to say, OK, I want to change the photo. Let's change the photo here. And use my camera for a second. All right, say hi, Rufus. All right. And this is now, let's use this photo. Yeah, it's not a very nice photo. Like, sorry about that, Lucy. I'm going to use the photo anyway. OK? So let's just change that to Creative Meetup, because that's the hashtag for today. Meet up. OK. Done. All right, 2016, all right? And then I can also change the designs, I can make things smaller or bigger. But what's super interesting is that I can actually say, okay, I want that for Instagram, or I want that for Facebook, I want that for Twitter, or I don't know, I want that for my profile cover on Facebook. So it actually it has all the sizes embedded already. And directly from there, with the images, I can actually export that. But let's just tweet that out. Again, let's say, okay, yeah, that's fine. Let's say, okay, and let's tweet that out to Twitter, and London. I'm not very good at typing with my big fingers here. Meet up, okay. Woohoo. And thanks, Lucy. All right. And post. All right? Post it to Twitter. All right? So basically, I took a picture or any picture from my Creative Cloud libraries. I added some graphics around them, and boom, posted it in the right format for the right media. Okay? So that's how easy it is to actually use these Spark applications. And I think my time is over. Yes?